You're listening to the Property Management Show with Greg Paielli here at Simply Property Management. And today we have a very special guest, Michelle Vaakil with EGL Properties Incorporated. I know Michelle for a while now. And Michelle, I'd like to welcome you to our show.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
it's great to be here.
Great. You know, I found you as a very, I think I've told you this several times since I met you. I found you as a very interesting person to talk to about the real estate business. I think you're one of the sharpest people I've met in the multifamily business and the single family for that matter. And you operate in a very rough tumble environment there in California. I know there's been so many darn restrictions and stuff that have affected you. But I just wanted to start out, maybe tell my audience a little bit about you, your schooling, licensing, and things of those natures, Michelle.
Sure. So first of all, I feel like I grew up, I've been doing real estate and property management from before I was even born. I grew up in a real estate family that were investors. And so their friends and family and clients, they were all like, please start a property management company. And so they did in the early 90s. And so I was the kid that trailed around with them to different properties and as they were flipping properties and making offers. So I really grew up around it. But I grew up in Los Angeles and went to school on the East Coast and then came back for graduate school. I got my MBA at USC. I know it's controversial if you're in Los Angeles, UCLA versus USC, but I'm a split family. Half of us have gone to UCLA, so please don't hold that against me. I joined my parents' firm while I was getting my degree in entrepreneurship, and I just felt like I'd always wanted to work for myself and grow the business and take it to the next level, which is I stepped in about 20 years ago, and we transitioned about 3 or 4 years ago now. So my parents have long retired. And so we managed in Los Angeles.
Oh, great. And do you have any other family that's in the business with you, Michelle, or is it just you yourself?
So as it happens, so my husband is a general contractor and he runs the sister company to maintenance company. So they handle all of the vacancy turns, a lot of the maintenance, day-to-day maintenance, but he's a separate company. He also has his own projects. ADUs are very popular right now, major remodeling of units, that type of thing. But it's run separately, yeah.
I see. And so how long, again, was your company in business for? When did your parents start the company?
I think it's officially, 91. So I think we're heading into 30 years officially, but they've been managing property since the 70s. I remember going to visit a property in Beverly Hills that they owned. Carrie Fisher was a tenant and she had been locked out. And so it was really exciting to go and meet her, and that's probably one of my earliest memories.
Oh wow, that's great. That's great. Yeah. And where are you guys located at, Michelle? Are you in Los Angeles or are you in Santa Monica? I've always had I've always wondered about that.
So we really are in the heart of Los Angeles. We're right, if anybody's familiar, right where the 405 and the 10 meet, and so we manage. Everything in I call it the Los Angeles region, but we manage from the ocean out into the San Gabriel Valley, North Valley, down to northern Orange County. So what we're familiar with is how to manage residential property and all the rules that involve city by city. So in LA, even though you think of city of LA, right, there are all these little mini cities in LA. So Culver City, Inglewood, Santa Monica, Beverly Hills are actually within the city of LA, in LA County. So we manage, and they all have different rules, so we have to keep track.
Does that include Burbank too, or is that outside?
Burbank, yes, Burbank. I can go on and on. We used to be able to know because most of them weren't under rent control. Now they're almost every city has some type of rent control restriction. So we have actually now at this point a very expensive spreadsheet.
I bet you do. What about employees, Michelle? How many employees do you have?
So we have 14 full-time employees, including myself. And it ranges from, we have soft property supervisors who are more client-facing, their assistants who are more resident-facing, maintenance department, accounting department, leasing, department. So pretty expensive backup. So whoever you get within our company, when you hire us, you'll get a day-to-day person, but that person has a huge amount of support behind them to handle things.
So let me understand this. Do you manage in the team, like with like a team situation, or do you manage in a portfolio type situation, or a hybrid for that matter?
Right. So a lot of times I hear it described as either departmental, right, or portfolio. So we are a little bit of a hybrid. We assign property supervisors by type more now than we used to do by geographical area, but now it's really more by type. So if they're managing single family versus multifamily with an on-site manager, right? So they're all a little bit different on how you manage and approach those properties. So that's how we have them divided out with employees and the support team.
I see. And what, as far as your management, like for your homes, and I know this varies because it depends on where you're managing, but like approximately how many properties will you give a person with a team, like the head person, the team? We call it like an account manager in our operation, but everyone has different names. And then underneath the account manager, there's a team of people. How many properties do you typically in an average area?
Like a single family, right? Typically, you would say around 100 properties, 100 around, right, would be a good assignment. We can get it a little higher just because there is so much support. They're not doing all the accounting. They're not doing all the maintenance coordination. They're not doing all of those things. So it just really depends. And then if you have an on-site manager, you can manage more units per se, right? But maybe less property.
Yeah. Right. It's exactly it. And then I also found in this industry that you can manage. It depends on where the properties are. Like, if you're in an area where the demographics are more challenging, let's put it. That it seems like the manager can't manage quite as many, because there's just more issues, more move outs, more turnover. But with this shortage of properties inventory, I think there's some little bit less moving. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, in LA, I mean, you're probably getting all of our tenants because right now, because of the economy, there is a lot of movement out. There's a lot of notices to vacate, even for January 1st, and a lot of them, we talk to our staff and say, well, we in our 30-day notice, we ask the tenants where are they, what's happening, why are they moving, and because if they are moving because of the rent or if it's too high, or we'll try to negotiate, especially with COVID right now, but a lot of them are moving out of state, out of the area. So that's a little bit hard to kind of negotiate them back.
We see that very much in Arizona, bordering Southern California, and it's just we see a lot of people moving in to the area, and there's a shortage of inventory here as well. I mean, we're our average rent time is about 17.8 days. At the last 10 properties we rented. What about your occupancy? Like, as far as like, how long does it take you to rent a single family home by days approximately? And I mean, I'm not going to hold you to an exact number or anything, but
pre-COVID or now, that's a tough one. We were pre-leasing before.
Yeah.
I mean, if you asked me a year ago, our single families, they were getting pre-leased. Now it's just single families are pretty, they're still moving pretty quickly within a couple of days of them being advertised. Our multifamilies is a whole other story. And then it's just really dependent on where, because the economy is just, hits harder in different areas of LA than others. So you have like Hollywood, where there's a lot of single persons. They were working in the entertainment industry or working at Disneyland or, like local entertainment that's all shut down. Or they're working at restaurants that are all shut down. And so it's been really challenging in those areas. But then there are other areas that our things are moving quickly. So it's almost like these micro regions, and you just have to price and track and really be on top of things and answer the phone. Really, that's really just if somebody calls about a vacancy, you got to answer the phone.
Yeah. I try to put that through to my younger folks that work with me, answer the phone. That's one of the big things people still like, believe it or not. And maybe I come from a different era, but answering the phone seems to be pretty important,
Right.
Yeah.
get back to people quickly.
Yeah, you just get back to people. They want to have an answer, especially in this environment where people are moving quickly. There's shortage of homes. People just, they just need to know. We have a house out in Tampa, in our Tampa market, that we just went on the market last week on the 9th. And by the 12th, I had 189 replies to the one property,
That's fantastic.
three bedroom home, people
Wow.
fighting over it. And we eventually, we found someone, that managed it. I want to just change the subject a little, or not change the subject, but I want to change gears here just a little bit. What kind of, okay, so you manage residential homes and then you manage multifamily too. Is that not correct?
That's right.
I
That's right.
see.
Right.
And what's your split? How many residential versus, what's your split as far as that goes?
So I think we probably have about 100 single family and then about 2,000 multifamily.
Okay, so you do a lot of multifamily properties, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's great. Another question I have is, you know, I've done a lot of multifamily. I actually come from the multifamily world. That's where I started. I really never did a single family. From when I first started, I owned and managed my own stuff, and we used to just have quite a bit of multifamily. So I really understand it. What on multifamily, uh, what do you find? Like, how many units do you have to have approximately before you put an on-site manager and an on-site maintenance guy? Do you think what's your do you have and I understand that some parts of LA you need it can't be as many and some can be many more. It depends on the area, right? Is that how I'm understanding?
Well, it's a little different. So, state of California does require a responsible person on site, a key holder, so to speak, for anything 16 units and above. So you really don't have a choice, and on about it, right? Like you have to have somebody there. It's a lot, insurance. Your insurance policy will inquire about it. They won't cover you if you don't have one in place. There's a lot of issues around how they're compensated because California is very strict about making sure that resident managers and are paid at least the minimum wage for what the hours that they work. And so it's a little complicated, but it's a good question. People like always asking me like, how should they be compensated? How much? It's really a matter of skill set and location. What we've seen, which I think is really fascinating, because of the change in technology, right? Your resident manager, like Mr. Roper from the Reese Company, right? He's out there collecting rent and he's signing leases, and people are coming in to fill out applications at his office. All those things. That's not happening anymore, right? Resident managers, because everything's centralized, right? Tenants pay online, they apply online, they fill out their lease online, right? Those are all generated, through your property management software, right? So resident managers are more about opening doors to show vacancies and maintenance, right? So really, the best resident manager you can have on site now is somebody skilled in maintenance, right? It almost is irrelevant if they can do everything else because that's really where they're going to save you money. And that's a skill that you need at your building. And the stock in LA, most of the stock, these are properties built, in the 50s, 60s. So they're aging properties. They have a lot of deferred maintenance often. So you really do need somebody who's skilled and who can take care of those issues and respond in an emergency, know how to respond. So that's what we're looking for in resident managers. And so you can get a good resident manager with those skills. That's really the most important thing right now.
Yeah, you bring up something interesting. At our properties before, people used to go to the office to pay the rent, and so right now, I mean, you just don't. I mean, we don't. We stopped doing that. We've had some issues with that over the years, with money orders, people not completing them, filling them out, and then the manager, if you have dishonest,
or not signing them,
not signing them.
They get money orders. They just sign them. We're like it's shocking, but those days are gone, right? We don't accept money orders. Actually, in our leases, we stopped accepting them because they were so problematic. They'd get stolen. A lot of problems.
Yeah. So That's exactly what we have seen too in the past. We actually stopped before this a lot of this technology came through. You know, we've stopped.
Uh-huh.
We started saying you have to pay the office and not the manager at a lot of these little complexes, because
Yeah,
we've had some issues. I mean,
absolutely.
I mean,
I mean, that's a whole other story, right? I mean, collecting rent, we call like very sticky, right? If somebody's life is if there's a life change, you don't want to have a resident manager who's responsible for collecting, I don't know, $100,000 worth of rent, right? Want all the rent to go to a centralized location where they don't have access to that. So that's just the best practice. Right. If you're still having resident managers collect rent, you need to stop. It's not a good
yeah,
idea.
yeah, no, it's exactly it. We have none in our operation. None of them do it. Everything gets paid at our office, or it doesn't even get at our office anymore. We don't want people to come to the office anymore either, as well. Everything is online now, or they can
Mhm.
actually the software we use. They can go to Walmart or a lot of these check cashing
Right.
places or
Same,
title loan
same. It's
places.
magical. Greg, can you believe it? It's honestly, it's
It's just
magical,
the
right?
greatest thing. It has totally cut down the amount of people and things that the chain of custody, I like to call it. You know, the money coming
Mhm.
from one to the other. We've had so many problems over the years at our on-site locations. With some dishonest people. I'll be honest with you. You know, I mean,
But not like just the excuses like, oh, I was on vacation or right, all of the or I was out of town, all those things.
oh,
Just they're
they're
gone,
gone.
right? Those are the things of the
They're
past.
completely gone.
Right.
Oh, the
There's
office
no
is
reason
shut
not to pay
down.
your
She's
rent.
not there. I mean, you just don't need none of that. Everything pretty much can go online. You can even. I have a buddy. He's got a big building, and he's coming to the realization of me and you. He's not as trained as we are. He's been learning as we go, but he's. I showed him the rent boxes like you use the Rently and some of that stuff, and he just can't believe it. And he's like, Greg, my manager's hardly got much to do. I go, that's right. I put him onto the software that he likes a lot. One of the software
Right.
packages that.
And that's why I go back to saying how really the resident manager, on-site resident managers, their main role now is maintenance.
Yeah, right.
And that's really like such a huge cost, right, to clients, right? Maintenance. So why not have save some money there to have somebody?
Right.
If you have to have an on-site resident manager anywhere, especially in California, at least put them to work doing something that is going to really benefit the property.
That's right. That's great. That's great. So getting back to the thing, so I used to use a formula like like a manager and a maintenance guy for maybe 60 units or something in kind of the average city, central city properties. What do you find? Do you find that you need, if you have a 200 or 300 unit, obviously you need a bigger staff. I had a 400 unit I managed, and I had a whole staff. I had a porter and everything cleaning up around the,
Right.
you know.
Right.
What do you find? Do you find 1 in 60 that's
No,
not enough?
that's pretty. I would say that's pretty accurate. You need at least, you need to have at least somebody skilled at 50 units to have a maintenance full time. You need to have somebody full time. Around 50 units is where you kind of the threshold for it. It just you run the numbers and you realize that the amount of money I'm spending on maintenance, maybe an outside plumber, outside maintenance, you can just go ahead and pay your resident manager and have that person dedicated to you.
Yeah. We even get. I don't know. Do you in California? Do you find maintenance people that are HVAC certified so they can do a lot of the small maintenance? The HVAC stuff. Hey, my air conditioner's not working, or do you have to? Or do you call
I mean,
third
it's
parties out?
tricky. It's tricky because it just really depends on what's happening. Some of them are very like you have just like in life, everybody has there's certain skill sets that they're good
Yeah.
and not so good at, right?
Sure.
Like within our like I know like the maintenance techs that we do have available to us, like one guy's the locksmith guy, one is the plumbing guy, right?
Yeah,
So they
yeah.
all have their kind of skill sets.
Yeah.
And some, we try there's certain things we feel are a little uncomfortable. We'd rather have somebody licensed to do. So like electrician, right?
Yeah.
We'll almost like maybe the light stuff, outlets and things. But if like a box has gone bad, we'll generally hire an electrician to take care of that to protect the client from liability. It's just not worth it.
Yeah. Do you what kind do you guys make a budget for these property owners on these bigger properties? Do you do a budget earlier in the year or at the end of the year or something for them?
We do. We usually do them for our in-house clients. I know, really, it's interesting. We don't do it for a lot of clients because there really are only needed at larger properties where you don't want to have this continuous, right? Smaller properties, you have a maintenance limit and you're going back and forth with clients. Should you spend the money? Right? once you get to a larger property, you can't have that conversation constantly. You need to be working within a budget, understanding what you're allowed to spend or not allowed to spend. So you have to set up a budget. Otherwise, you just be spending all your time getting bids.
Yeah.
Right. So right. That's basically the idea of a budget. And then the idea afterwards is to set up a variance report so that monthly you can comment on why something is over budget, under budget, etc. within a certain
And those
parameter.
are for your large properties, I take it, or larger properties, right?
Yeah, larger properties,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. What about what do you see for vacancy rates right now? Let's say, this is COVID time, right? What kind of
Mhm.
rates do you see in multifamily, and what kind do you see in single family? Do you see what are you experiencing, Michelle?
The single family is almost zero. I mean, like I said, they're renting in a couple of days if they're even giving notice because they appreciate where they are.
Yeah.
Right? They have a nice home, they have space. Um, it's valued. If they go out to try to rent another single family home, that market has actually increased. A lot of times the rent has gone up. That's what we've seen. Multifamily is a whole different issue. And again, it goes back to these micro economies in Los Angeles, an area like Hollywood that's so hard hit, very different than an area in Orange County, where they've kept, for the most part, until a couple of weeks ago, everything was really open and people were working. So the vacancies have really varied. I think our hardest hit right now is around 10%, but that's so painful. And that's only in a handful of buildings. The rest of the buildings are, I think the reality is that, or I should say, our clients have had to have a reality check about rent. What can I charge for rent? Am I going to have to do a move-in special? Am I going to have to draw upon? And luckily, we've been around long enough. We've experienced enough to see the ups and downs of the real estate markets, right? So we know what we did last time that worked, right? And it was a while ago. Like I'm not even talking about 2008 because that was not so bad in terms of rentals. I'm talking like mid 1990s, right? When we had a vacancy in every single building and they never went away because there was just not enough bodies to physically rent in Los Angeles. It was
Right.
just high occupancy and high vacancy factor. So kind of back to that era a little bit again and kind of saying, do we do a move-in special? Do we discount for the first 6 months and maybe hopefully by June everything's better and we can go back to our old rate. So just finding different techniques to solve
Yeah.
that issue.
Yeah. What about what kind of software do you use for your accounting, Michelle? What program or software do you use?
Right. So we chose about 5, 6 years ago Appfolio. It's I think it's NASDAQ on the NASDAQ. It's a pretty easy to use property management software. I call it like the Apple of software because it doesn't play nice with other people, but it's so easy to use. It's great for our employees. It's great for our clients. Great for residents. So we're pretty happy with it.
Yeah. What about moving on to a little bit different topic? Your advertising. Obviously, you probably don't have to advertise all that much, huh? I mean, as far as for rentals, because they goes pretty quick. I take it, huh?
Well, I think you have to do your due diligence. You have to do your market survey. Don't just assume that it was, we rented it 6 months ago. It should be at the same amount.
Right.
But basically we are doing everything we normally do. We do the videos, professional videos, pictures, make sure those are up and running and using the different online platforms to advertise. I know there's a big controversy with Zillow. Should we use them? Should we not? We did analysis. I think 60% plus of our leads were coming through Zillow and their affiliates. So we said we really don't have a choice right now. We hope that in the future they're going to charge us for that, right? They're charging us daily to advertise. So we hope, we used to pay for advertising. People remember we used to pay for the LA Times. We would advertise in the Los Angeles Times. That was like right? That's where you would advertise. I know your local newspaper. We used to pay. I remember it was like $150 a weekend to advertise your vacancy.
Yeah.
So,
I used to advertise in the Kenosha News.
Something like that. That's not a big deal.
I used to have hundreds and hundreds of dollars, like thousands sometimes, from the Kenosha News, from where I'm from. And when I first started out, in the multifamily business, and there was people taking out full pages,
Right.
and it's just, it's a thing of the past. It's like the telephone,
There's going to be somebody who's going to figure out a free service that's going to take on Zillow, and then we'll start advertising there because we have to stay on top of things and see where.
And what
Right.
I've noticed now, for instance, in our Tucson market, the Tucson Realtors Association is no longer going to give Zillow access to the system no more. And so Zillow is what they said, or what I read, that the notice I got, that Zillow is going to be like another brokerage house in Tucson. They're going to be called Zillow Homes or whatever they call themselves, and they're going to be
Right.
just like a broker like us and like you know. And so
Right.
they're just not going to. They'll get the feeds, but that's going to get the feeds as a realtor. They're not going to give them the data drop. I thought it was a really bad idea when they did it. I'm one of the few proponents at the MLSs that just look, they've built their whole business. But I hear from other people, well, you get what you pay for. We got
Right.
something from Zillow too. They had better advertising than you had.
Look, you have to decide, are they a disruptor, or are they just kind of homes for sale, or some other, company that has, come through and doesn't work. Well, it's not,
We all
right now,
we
yeah,
all like Lyft and Uber too. And the taxi cabs they had the infrastructure and they had all the people available to do everything that they did, and they didn't do it. I mean, if you think
right,
about it, the taxi cab system in our country, I mean, in
right,
cities like Los Angeles and Milwaukee and Chicago, I mean, they had everything. They had all the infrastructure. They had it's so expensive. You have to buy cars and everything. They had all that, you know?
right.
And so, I mean,
I think the jury's out on whether Zillow is a great disruptor in our business. I don't think it is. I think property management is so personal, and there's so many decisions that you have to make, and it's so market by market. So there's certain things that you can, the technology that you can put in place to be pretty competitive with
I
them.
read something
Although,
interesting not long ago that the real estate market. We talk about the national real estate market. There really is no national real estate market. Overall. It's so localized now. It's in small little areas. The market in Phoenix, as you know, and as most of the country knows, is just it's on fire, and it won't stop. But you can go to
right,
other areas of town, maybe where I'm from, maybe Kenosha, Wisconsin. It's doing well, but it's not like this here where people are lined up. I even had a customer contact me the other day, and they said they're in a lottery for a brand new home out in the west side of Phoenix. A lottery. We haven't heard lottery since 2006.
wow.
So
So
this is
now
this
you'll
is
see.
what's happening. A lot of California people, no doubt, are coming to Arizona in the wake of political things that are happening there in California. But do you, another thing I was going to ask you, like your units, most of your multifamily people do you know if they're financed, or are they not financed, or, do you find people?
It's really a mix for us in LA. A lot of our clients are retirees. They've inherited property, and so we have they own their building free and clear, and so it's just. I think most of our clients, when we talk about like an avatar, really, they're hiring us because they want us to make good decisions about their property. They want us to like be very pragmatic. We own property. We feel your pain. What is a decision that you would make if this was yours, right? You're not going to go full throttle on a make ready on a property that is going to, not give you that return, right? You may just do paint and change out the floor, right? So making those decisions, that's what kind of drives our clients. Um, the financing piece comes into like, are they investors? Are they continuing to invest, right? Do they pull out money to buy more property? That type of situation. I think it's a little bit more of a savvy client that does that. But ultimately, it depends what they're using that cash flow for. If they're living off of it, if they're in retirement, close to retirement, all those financial decisions
Yeah.
they need to make.
I would say, and correct me if I'm wrong, that I would think that some of these people that you have a multifamily, they're a little gun shy right now based on the political environment in California. As far as hey, can we collect rent? Or how long is this going to be? We can't
Right.
get rid of people that don't pay rent. Seems like they would be a little shy. You finding
It's
something
definitely
about it?
been a challenge. I think most of them are in it for the long term. They recognize owning real estate in California and in Los Angeles in particular has been very, um, really great return for their money. And we call it multi-generational wealth. It's really created, a nice cash stream for them over the years. Some years are better than others, but when you own property anyways, right? Some years are better than others. Sometimes you have to put on a new roof or there's an eviction or a vacancy. Those are the things that come up. And so, but most investors understand that. And so they understand that, no, wait, hey, we had a great run for many, many years, right? Our rents kept going up and up and up. We had zero vacancy. Now it's a little different. We didn't know where the economic, you know, where it would come from, right? We didn't know, but now we know.
Yeah. And if you just take a look at the chart from 1940, I always bring this up with people that I'm talking to, and you start from 1940 and you come up to today, the real estate has been a great investment. I try to talk to people that, it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to put it through their head that it since 1940 to today, it's really, really gone up. Have we had some big dips along the way? Absolutely. We had the depression of 2008 that absolutely crushed it, but if you look at the overall graph, the graph has been going up, for the whole period of time, and so you just have to be, I find this when I deal with clients, if they're financed. And then they have to be capitalized enough. I tell people when they come to us, most of the problem is not so much with the multifamily people; it's with single family people, especially those who have never done this before. I try to educate them to about 6 months you should have in the bank
Right.
because look, you're going to have a vacancy, you're going to have a bill, you're going to have something has got to get fixed in that property. It's not going to go forever, and I find
Right.
that some of the people that are the most disgruntled they're undercapitalized and they're not prepared for for types of things that come along this way.
Right. Right. Well, they get too used to having a really nice check every month, and so when that doesn't come in, they're like, "What happened?"
What happened to
It's like
me?
called owning real estate. It's not a
I
bond.
didn't collect my rent. No, you collected your rent, but it went to expenses.
Yeah, it happens. It
It
happens. But
happens.
hopefully, it's short term, and they recognize that it's long term investment, and I think that's the case.
Yeah, yeah. Do you do inspections of all your units, Michelle? Do you have a
Yes,
second?
of course.
And so
Yeah.
how many do you do? Like maybe one a year, one every couple years? How do you do that?
Well, we say usually we go in twice a year inside, and then we'll do a drive by once a month. It's just so dependent on what's happening at the property. Now we've moved to, you know, use the inspector to do some of the inspections now, just so we can limit our exposure because of COVID. And that might be something that is a long-lasting impact on how we do inspections or their self-inspections. Seems to be more effective.
Yeah, we're doing that. We came up with that during the COVID period. I think I may have told you that
Mhm.
we use GoToMeeting, and we set up a thing, and then they go in the house and they do a 90-degree
Yeah.
360 in each room, and
Mhm.
then sometimes they might say, "Hey, can I see the stove?" Or they got to make some moves, but that's been
Right.
working
Right.
good. And we have that available to show people that we have done. So
Mhm.
I mean, we just have to do the best we can do under these procedures. Hopefully, by this time next year, we're going to be in a better spot. Do you have emergency? People can call emergency calls for you too, right?
Of course.
you have
Of
an
course.
online emergency
Yeah, you have to.
situation.
Yeah.
I see. Do you sell real estate too, Michelle, or do you?
We're licensed brokers. We have to be, state of California requires it. We do occasional sales if clients ask us. But most of the time we do refer out to, we have kind of trusted brokers we've worked with in the area. It just really depends on the type of property that's being sold and size and location. It would make sense. But really, our core business is property management. I think that really differentiates us. We're not looking to sell your property. We're looking to have a long-term relationship with you where we manage your property and again create that kind of multi-generational wealth for you and your family when we're working.
That's great. There's a lot of different people. I know that there's agents that like to manage properties, but they're really not property managers. They'll get
Yeah, it's
30, 40.
terrible. I wish I wish clients understood that.
I get honest to God, I get one a month, or two a month that, you know, and a lot of them when they call you, they're like in sticker shock, like what you charge for this and you charge. Well, of course, yes, we charge for all of those things. Oh, but and you know that they just came from an agent who's not charging anything, hardly, and they're working their butt off, but then that's the service they get too as well,
Right.
and
And
that's
then their tenants get that service, which is, yeah, and then they find themselves getting sued by tenants and things
yeah,
like that.
yeah. It's just it's kind of crazy. What do you okay, so here's the, here's the big elephant in the room, COVID, right? What what are you finding? I mean, I know California, I think we all know that there's a million things going on there. Different cities, different counties. I mean, everyone's got different rules. What do you think here? I mean, the vaccine's coming out. I don't know. What's your thoughts on all this, Michelle?
Well, I think first of all, we're kind of limited because of the state rule. We're limited by state rules, county rules, city rules, right? So and federal, right? So we know federal the evictions are basically now suspended through January, right? The most recent legislation. And so we're just we're going day by day, month by month, what is available to us, what's the information that we have, how can we work with tenants to get their balance paid off, or move out. All right, so that's just what we're working with. There's not much we can do where everyone's I describe it as like everyone's in the same storm, but not everyone has the same boat. So there are clients that have a lot of resources and can weather this. There are clients who can't. Similarly, there are tenants who can weather this and can even, job, no job, they're able to pay. And then their tenants are really suffering. And then their tenants, of course, were taking advantage, which is really awful. But ultimately, we believe that by the time, vaccine, summer, it is LA. People like to visit here. It's beautiful. And they're going to come to Disneyland and Universal and visit, Beverly Hills, Rodeo Drive. And they're going to spend their money and want to go out to restaurants and see movies and then, go shopping. So I think the economy here is going to revive hopefully pretty quickly and that tenants will get back on track.
Yeah, well, that's good. I mean, that's good for the economy. A lot of people are suffering, and especially in your area there. I mean, it doesn't take many people to, just sit in front of the TV and you can see the struggling happening there, especially with the hospitality. I've noticed restaurants and bars and grills and a pool hall. I saw the other night on TV. I think it was yesterday. The guy hasn't been open in 9 months.
Right.
And I mean, it's just
Yeah,
it's
people are
just
suffering. It's awful.
I
It's
mean,
awful.
he asked the TV audience, he asked the question, could you survive for 9 months? I've had no money coming in. But he, and I just felt so sorry for the guy. Also, I felt sorry for that girl that was on TV the other day that she was crying. Her business was closed. Her rent, and I
Right.
mean,
I mean, we're very blessed.
we
We're an
are.
essential service, right? We have to work. Yes, is our income down? Yes, because it's tied to rent payments. But ultimately, we're still working and we're still servicing our tenants and our clients.
Yes,
But a lot of people aren't. And so there's a definite recognition that that's happening.
absolutely. I mean, we have a lot to be thankful for. I personally do. I'm thankful for all of the, you know, even during this epidemic, we have worked the whole time and we've collected rents, and we're very, very blessed for that. I feel sorry for the other folks. I'm fighting for the other folks as much as I can.
Right,
To
right,
get them back to work and get them to make money as well. Because in the end, I really believe, Michelle, it will affect us all if this continues on for long periods of time, because it'll just
right,
start trickling down, and people
right.
like
Of
us will
course.
start.
It has a trickle down effect. A
Yeah.
restaurant that's closed,
I mean,
it's not just the owner and the waiters and
right.
full staff. It's the suppliers, the people supplying their linens, everything,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? That get affected.
Yeah. Well, Michelle, I really, 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 truly thank you for coming on to our show today. I've been wanting to invite you to my show for quite some time. I know I've talked to you about it.
It was great, Greg. I loved it, and you did an awesome job.
Oh, well, I'm trying to bring up some interesting topics from time to time with people and talk to them. And so you're one of the people that I've always wanted to interview. If you could, how can people get a hold of you? I'll put something on the
Sure,
podcast.
sure. So,
But how do we get a
our
hold of you?
website, easiest way, eglproperties.com. and mvaakil at eglproperties.com, MVAAKIL at eglproperties.com. And if you have any questions, reach out. I'm happy to talk about the real estate market here in Los Angeles and see if we can help you.
Okay, great. So, to all of our guests, if you have properties in California, especially in the Los Angeles area, please feel free and give Michelle a shout out and have her try to get you hooked up. They do a great job. I've known Michelle for probably a few years now, and she'll do a really really great job. And
Thanks,
so
Greg.
again, Michelle, I just want to thank you again for coming on to our show. That was really, really awesome of you. And have a nice rest of the holiday season, okay?
Oh, you too. Happy
Yeah,
holidays.
you
Take care.
too. Thanks a lot, Michelle. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye.